Simplify each difference. In these problems, we're going to have two polynomials. Again, here I have trinomials, but they can be of any length. It really doesn't matter, and any degree for that matter. We're going to take these two and we're going to subtract them. That's what difference means. Difference means that you're subtracting one thing from another. And this is very, very similar to how we did addition. So we look through each term and we look for like terms. So here we've got just a number with no variable. So we look through until we find another number with no variable. And now we just follow the directions for what the math tells us to do. And it tells us to take 6 minus negative 3. So again, we're taking 6 minus negative 3. But the thing is, if you subtract a negative, that's the same thing as adding a positive. So instead of thinking of this as 6 minus negative 3, we can also think of this as being 6 plus 3. They mean the same thing. However, I will, just because it's what we're looking at, I will stick with calling it 6 minus negative 3. Perform that calculation, and 6 minus negative 3 would be 9. So now I've used that and that. Move on to the next term, negative 6v squared. I find my other v squareds, and there's just one, and it's right there. So I take negative 6v squared minus 6v squared. So negative 6 minus 6 would be negative 12v squared. So I've used this term and I've used this term. Let's move on to the next. Here I've got plus 2v, and now I'm looking for anything else, and there is nothing else, so I'll just say plus 2v. That uses up that. And now we've got just this term left, and you might be tempted to write down plus 2v cubed, but we have to take into account this minus sign. So this is minus positive 2v squared, or minus 2v cubed, because of that minus sign right there. Another way of thinking of this is that we are distributing that negative sign throughout this problem. So what used to be positive 2v cubed is negative 2v cubed. Alright, we have this, but we need to rewrite it in standard form. Find our largest term and write that first. So we have negative 2v cubed. Our next largest term would be v squared. And then just v. And finally, our constant term. And so there is our simplified polynomial. Alright, problem 6 is just more of the same. Let's run through it fairly quickly. Here we have a cubed term. Let's look for any other cubed term, and there isn't one. So I'd say 8x cubed, and that takes care of that. Look for squared terms. There's one right there. So we have to do 3x squared minus negative 5x squared. So 3 minus negative 5 would be 8. So that's plus 8x squared. I've used that term and I've used that term. Next up is x to the 4th. 6 minus 7 gives me negative 1 x to the 4th. That term and that term are used up, and all I'm left with is this term. So I would say minus negative 2x would give me plus 2x. Remember, when we subtract the negative, that's the same thing as adding. I need to rewrite these in standard form. Here's my largest degree term. I'm going to drop this 1. Anytime you have a coefficient of 1, you don't necessarily need it. So I'm going to just write this as negative x to the 4th plus 8x cubed plus 8x squared plus 2x. And there is our final difference.